ओंकारणीडशुकराजे नमः। ओम ओंकारारण्यकुंजराय नमः। ओंकारारण्यकुंजराय नमः। ओम नगराजसुताजानये नमः। ओम नवमाणिक्यमालाढ्याय नमः। ओम नवचंद्रशिखामणये नमः। ओम नंदिताशेषमौनीन्द्राय नमः। ओम नंदीशादिमदेशिकाय नमः। ओम मोहानलसुधासाराय नमः। ओम मोहाम्बुजसुधाकराय नमः। ओम मोहान्धकारतरणये नमः। ओम मोहोत्पलनभौमनये नमः। ओम भक्तज्ञानाब्धिशीतांशवे नमः। ओम भक्ताज्ञानतृणालयाय नमः। ओम भक्ताम्बोजसहस्रांशवे नमः। ओम भक्तकेकिघनाघनाय नमः। ओम भक्तकैरवराकेन्दवे नमः। ओम भक्तकोकदिवाकराय नमः। ओम गजाननादिसम्पूज्याय नमः। ओम गजचर्मोज्ज्वलाकृतये नमः। ओम गंगाधवलदिव्यांगाय नमः। ओम गंगापंकिलसज्जटाय नमः। ओम गगना अंबर संवीताय नमः। ओम गगना मुक्तमूर्धजाय नमः। ओम वदनाब्जजिताब्जश्रिये नमः। ओम वदनेन्दुस्फुरद्दिशाय नमः। ओम वरदानैकनिपुणाय नमः। ओम वरवीनोज्ज्वलत्कराय नमः। ओम वनवाससमुल्लासाय नमः। ओम वनवीरैकलोलुपाय नमः। ओम तेजभुञ्जघनाकाराय नमः। ओम तेजसामपि भासकाय नमः। ओम विनेयानां तेजःप्रदाय नमः। ओम तेजोमय निजाश्रमाय नमः। ओम दमितानंग संग्रामाय नमः। ओम दरहासजितांगनाय नमः। ओम दयारससुधासिन्धवे नमः। ओम दरिद्रधनशेवधये नमः। ओम क्षीरेन्दुस्फटिकाकाराय नमः। ओम क्षीरेन्दुमुकुटोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ओम क्षीरोपहाररसिकाय नमः। ओम शिवप्रैश्वर्य क्षिप्रैश्वर्यफलप्रदाय नमः। क्षिप्रैश्वर्यफलप्रदाय ॐ नानाभरणमुग्धाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ नारी सम्मोहनाकृतये नमः। ॐ नादब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः। ॐ नागभूषणभूषिताय नमः। ॐ मूर्तिनिन्दितकन्दर्पाय नमः। ॐ मूर्तामूर्तजगत्वपुषे नमः। ॐ मूलाज्ञानतमोभानवे नमः। ॐ मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः। ॐ तरुणादित्यसङ्काशाय नमः। ॐ तन्त्रीवादनतत्पराय नमः। ॐ तरुमूलैकनिलयाय नमः। ॐ तप्तजाम्बूनदप्रभाय नमः। ॐ तत्त्वपुस्तोलसत्पाणये नमः। ॐ तपनोडुपलोचनाय नमः। ॐ यमसन्नुतसत्कीर्तये नमः। ॐ यमसंयमसंयुताय नमः। ॐ यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः। ॐ यतीन्द्रोपास्य विग्रहाय नमः। ॐ मन्दारहाररुचिराय नमः। ॐ मदनायुतसुन्दराय नमः। ॐ मन्दस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः। ॐ मन्दस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः। ॐ मधुराधरपल्लवाय नमः। ॐ मञ्जीरमञ्जुपादाब्जाय नमः। ॐ मणिपट्टोलसत्कटये नमः। ॐ हस्ताङ्कुरितचिन्मुद्राय नमः। ॐ हठयोगपरोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ हंसजप्याक्षमालाढ्याय नमः। ॐ हंसे द्वाराध्यपादुकाय नमः। ॐ हंसे द्वाराध्यपादुकाय नमः। हंसे द्वाराध्यपादुकाय ॐ मेरुशृङ्गतटोल्लासाय नमः। शृङ्गतटोल्लासाय ॐ मेघश्याममनोहराय नमः। ॐ मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः। मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय ॐ मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः। ॐ धार्मिकान्तर्गुहावासाय नमः। ॐ धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः। ॐ धामत्रयनिजारामाय नमः। ॐ धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः। ॐ प्रबोधोद्गार दीपश्रिये नमः।
ओम प्रबोधोद्गार दीपश्रिये नमः।
ओम प्रकाशित जगत्त्रयाय नमः।
ओम प्रकाशित जगत्त्रयाय नमः।
ओम प्रज्ञा चंद्रशिलाचंद्राय नमः।
ओम प्रज्ञा चंद्रशिलाचंद्राय नमः।
ओम प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः।
ओम प्रज्ञामणिवरकराय नमः।
ओम ज्ञानांतरभासात्मने नमः।
ओम ज्ञानांतरभासात्मने नमः।
ओम ज्ञातृज्ञादिविदुरगाय नमः।
ओम ज्ञातृज्ञानादिविदुरगाय नमः।
ओम ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैत दिव्यांगाय नमः।
ओम ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैत दिव्यांगाय नमः।
ओम ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैत दिव्यांगाय नमः।
ओम ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैत
दिव्यांगाय
दिव्यांगाय नमः।
ओम ज्ञातृज्ञादिकुलागताय नमः।
ओम ज्ञातृज्ञादिकुलागताय नमः।
ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः।
ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः।
ओम प्रणतार्थब्धिवाडवाय नमः।
ओम प्रणतार्यविविधाय नमः।
ओम प्रणतार्थ्य अब्धिवाडवाय नमः।
प्रणतार्थ्यविविधाय
ओम भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः।
ओम भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः।
ओम प्रपंचहितकारकाय नमः।
ओम प्रपंचहितकारकाय नमः।
ओम यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः।
ओम यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः।
ओम यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः।
ओम यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः।
ओम यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः।
ओम यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः।
ओम यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः।
ओम यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः।
ओम छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः।
ओम छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः।
ओम छत्रसामरसेविताय नमः।
ओम छत्रचामरसेविताय नमः।
ओम छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः।
ओम छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः।
ओम छलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः।
ओम छलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः।
ओम स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः।
ओम स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः।
ओम स्वानुभूतिरसोददये नमः।
ओम स्वानुभूतिरसोददये नमः।
ओम स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः।
ओम स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः।
ओम स्वात्मा राममहामतये नमः।
ओम स्वात्मा राममहामतये नमः।
ओम हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः।
ओम हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः।
ओम हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः।
ओम हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः।
ओम हालाहलोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः।
ओम हालाहलोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः।
ओम हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः।
ओम हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः।
ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः।
ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः।
ओम श्री दयानंद सद्गुरवे नमः।
ओम श्री दयानंद सद्गुरवे नमः।
ओम श्री महेशानंद सद्गुरवे नमः।
ओम श्री महेशानंद सद्गुरवे नमः।
I have one question.
Yeah.
On the 19th, it's a Pranatatarya or Tatharya.
Sorry, which one is it?
90. Verse 19. Om Pranatatarya Devarajaya Namah. Ya or Tha?
It's not 19. I don't have. It's Bhakta Kairavara Kendra.
Okay, so
90.
Oh, 90.
90.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you said 19.
No, 90.
Okay, so Pranatarthya.
Tha?
Pranatarthya. Sorry, Pranatarthya.
Okay.
Pranatarthya. So
yeah.
maybe I mispronounced it.
No, that's okay, but I don't want
Pranatarthya.
Devaraja.
Pranatarthya Dhi.
Huh?
So there is actually no separate Pranatarthya Dhi is a difficult one. Vadavaya Namaha. Pranatarthya
Pranatartyam Devaraya.
Yeah, I have to pronounce it also. I'll practice it and I'll do that
No, I
next
just
time.
wanted to make sure
Yeah,
it's
it's a
not
difficult
tha
one.
typo. You
No.
know.
Okay, so let us start the study of the meaning of this, starting with the very first one. And I think the first one, Swamiji has spent a lot of time discussing it. So it's a little longer, but it'll get shorter over time. As you know, Swami TV was telling me one time that Swami Dayanandji requested him, because of his knowledge of Sanskrit, to translate these 108 names. So he says at first he found it was kind of challenging, but he made a pratigya to himself that every morning before breakfast he will take one verse and spend time doing it. So he just did it over, some time. So it's wonderful. So, so today we'll do Om Omkara Simha Sarvendraya Namaha. So what I think I will try to do is to read the Sanskritam and then the English translation, and then add some commentary. We don't have a lot of time, but I think we could just do one today. So here, Omkara eva simhaha, sacha sarvesham indraha tasmai namaha. So the English translation is the Omkara, and this is very interesting that we are just finishing up the Mandukyaupanishad, which is devoted to Omkara. So you can now relate to it a little better after you've studied this. So Omkara eva simhaha. So simha means a lion. And the lion is pointed out because the lion is the king of the jungle. And king of the jungle means he's fearless. He's not afraid of anybody else. Everybody else is afraid of the lion, but the lion is not afraid of the king. Means he is independent. So Ishvara is independent. It's not dependent on anything. Everybody else is dependent on Ishvara, but Ishvara is not dependent. So therefore the simile between a lion and Omkara, and Omkara, of course, as you know, is the name of Ishvara. Is the name of Ishvara and the name of the Atma. It is the symbol of the Atma. So both Jivatma as well as Paramatma is the Omkara. But here the reference, so one thing that he would do is he will, the composition of the 108 names is to praise Ishvara per se, or to praise the content of Ishvara, which is Brahman. So Saguna Upasana as well as Nirguna Upasana both are taken up from one verse to the other. So here this is a Saguna Upasana, that you praise the power and the independence of Ishvara. So in fact this is what is called Ishvara. The word Ishvara itself is a giveaway, because it as you know, it consists of two portions. One is Ish and the other is Vara. So Vara means Atyantikas, total. Ish means the one who is the boss, one who determines what needs to be done, is the Ish. And each one of us also is partial Ishvara. With respect to some things, we are Ishvara. But with respect to other things, we are not Ishvara. But Ishvara, who is totally Ishvara, not dependent on anything, is called Ishvara. So that Ishvara is Omkara Evas, and such a Sarvesham Indraha. So Indraha here doesn't mean the heavenly abode person. Indra also refers to Ishvara. And then Tasmai Namaha, to my prostrations to him. Here Swami Tattvavidananda ji is very fond of translating. If I look at just the Omkara itself, the Namaha, and look at the very last paragraph. So he says, Namaha means not mine. And he says, in this world, everything including this body, mind, sense complex is the Lord's alone. Whatever one may point to, one will not be able to say, this is mine. Everything is given to me. Nevertheless, the human being has an attachment to the body, and whatever is related to it is mine. To get rid of such an attachment, Namaha is repeatedly uttered. So he's very fond of this meaning of Namaha, that na mama, idam na mama. And so, but if you look at the translation of the Namaha in Om Namah Shivaya, and there are 19 different meanings of the word Namaha, which was done by, I think, Totakacharya, if I'm not mistaken. We briefly took that one time. If not, then we'll do it again. In that book, Namaha's primary meaning is Tyaga, which is similar to not mine. But Tyagaha, and Tyagaha means, may I give up my way of life which is revolving around my individuality. So if you look at our conduct during the day, our experiences, how we respond to the experiences, how we conduct our life, it is all based on an assumption and a conclusion that I am highly limited. This is what I am. I'm just one individual. And so how do I best conduct myself based on this? Tyaga, on the other hand, to say that may I learn to change my base. Change the base meaning that instead of conducting my life with the assumption that I am limited, I should start to conduct my life with the assumption that I am not limited. That it was really Ishvara that is prompting me to do things. So that base needs to be changed, and it's going to take a little while. It's not going to happen right away. But we must start. At least we must make a pratigya to ourselves. That is the real meaning of the word Namaha. So Namaha means to give up my sense of conduct of my life, the way I am, and to appreciate the potential unlimitedness of my own nature. That's the meaning of the Namaha, but very similar to what Swamiji is also saying. Okay, now, so he says, Asmakam Purataha Virajataha Nama Rupa Vyakaranasya Jagatiti Vyavaharaha. So he says that the world shining before us is a phenomena and a manifestation of names and forms. Nama Rupa Vyakaranasya Jagatiti Vyavaharaha. Absolutely true. So everything is with respect to name and the form. Asminscha Jagati Sarvani Rupani Taihi Namabihi Nirdishyante Khalu. So he says that everything that I relate to has a name. Has a name. And I cannot, this is how the mind works, is that the name and the form are closely associated with it. Kintu sarvam khalu idam brahma iti suvidetam eva nigama at tatparya vidam vidusham. So he says that, however, everything that we relate to, everything that we have a vyavahara with, the vidusham, meaning the very wise people, understand that it is nothing but Brahman alone. People are Brahman, objects are Brahman, I am Brahman. So Brahmarpanam, Brahma, just like we say before eating food, Brahmarpanam, etc. Everything is really Brahman alone. So this is what the wise people say, which I do not see it at this point in time. Atascha namani samani samasya eva brahmanaha dyotakani bhavanti. So therefore, all the names, even though they refer to a particular object, really refer to Brahman alone. So when you say, for example, a necklace, a golden necklace, you refer to the content of the necklace, which is gold. You don't say golden necklace, you say necklace, but it is implied. So really everything in the world refers to Brahman alone. Namani imani sarvani akshara matrakaryam paryavasidanti. He says everything is culminating in Brahman alone. Now, tasya vachakaha evamcha ashesha nishedha shesham nirdishyam brahma omkarena lakshyati kriyati. Om iti etat sarvam Taittiriyopanishad iti cha shruti tasya vachakaha pranavaha yoga darshanam iti yoga vidam maharshinam cha sutritaha. So very short, in a very short order, we have already studied this in Mandukya, that therefore all names, because they refer to all objects, culminating in Omkara alone. So as A, U, Ma, as these three portions of Om, all sounds are included in that. There is no difference. And so therefore, and I'm just shortening my time, therefore Omkara is the Simha, and in fact is the Indraha of Sarvesham. And so I think I'm running out of time, and so you can perhaps complete this by reading Swamiji's English translation, which he has provided himself. But this is the sense of it, of the first verse. So I'll just leave it at that. And I'll also kind of, I didn't spend a lot of time reading it ahead of time, but from now on I'll summarize it so that in 5 or 7 minutes. And then as we start to pronounce the 108 names ourselves together rather than following me, we'll have a little bit more time. So in 15 minutes we can do maybe 3 or 4 of these as we go along. Okay. Om Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyoma Bhagyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Dukarastvandakaro Vai Dukarastanivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitva Gururitya Vidhiyate Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. chant verses 3 and 4 from the Vaithatya Prakaranam. 3 that we kind of did last week, and we'll spend a bit more time on that and then go to the fourth one. Number 3. Abhavascha rathadinam Shruyate nyayapurvakam Vaithatyam tena vaipraptam Swapna ahuhu prakashitam Antasthanatu Bhedanam Tasmad Jagarite Smritam Yatha Tatra Tatha Swapne Samvritatvena Bhidyate. So in summarizing what we did last week, of course it talked about the fact, so just a quick revision, that the Vaithatya Prakaranam is devoted to logic. The Agama Prakaranam was devoted to the Shruti Vakya, the Shruti, but the second chapter is devoted to Yukti. So Yukti means logic. And so now there is a lot of commentary on logic. This is a very important thing in terms of the uniqueness of Vedanta. So that is being studied. So that being the case, there are 2 important concepts that we must pay attention to that we did last week also, and so just repeating it. One is that for us to conclude the falsity of something, we must know the non-falsity of something else. So whenever you say this is false, you cannot just stop at that point and say this is false. Because falsity by itself doesn't mean anything. Falsity must be concluded only with respect to non-falsity. So asatyam begs the relationship with satyam. Satyam must be known. Otherwise, the thing cannot be appreciated as asatyam. This is a main thing that we have to really get out of this. Anyway, we'll spend more time on that in a minute, but this is concept number 1, which is important to get. That asatyam must be related to satyam. Otherwise, you cannot validly conclude this is asatyam. This is number 1. The second thing is that pure logic is not useful. It must be preceded by a direction which is trustworthy, which says this is the logic that we should use. So, Shruti Purvakam Yukti alone is useful. Yukti by itself is not useful. And this is a huge topic that we will spend a lot of time on later on, especially the 6th chapter of the Panchadashi, Chitra Deepa Prakaranam, goes into that in great depth. And even the Karika also, we will see this. Why that is the case? We briefly said last week, the reason for this is that pure logic becomes speculation. speculation. It is purely guesswork. And the reason for the guesswork not to be useful is that any guesswork can be superseded by better guesswork. It's exactly what happens. That the world revolves and science makes progress, and then you say, now I have a better idea of what the world is. First of all, you had the Newtonian science, that this is a real world. Then came the Einsteinian world, and that logic says this is not real. That, for example, supposing you have a 1 kilogram or 1 pound of weight, the 1 pound of weight is dependent upon the speed being 0. If you increase the speed, the weight becomes less. This is the theory of relativity that Einstein enumerated, and it is true. It's absolutely true. And so pure logic without some backing of what the Shruti is saying is useless. So anyway, these are the two concepts that you must keep in mind as we go forward. Number one, asatyam needs satyam to validate it. Number one. And secondly, that yukti by itself without the backing of Shruti is useless. In fact, the entire world, so if you just spend a minute on that, on the second one, that the yukti without Shruti is useless, the entire world being created by Maya Shakti is what is called anirvachaniyam. The word for Maya is anirvachaniyam. This is an important word to understand. Anirvachaniyam means cannot be definitively defined. It's not as though we don't know, but the nature of Maya is that it will end up being I don't know. Swami Maheswaranji has been pointing out repeatedly, I also learned a lot from this logic, that if you look at the world, there is an amazing attempt to explain it. What is the final particle? And so on. And you know what the end of that he says? That even though we now increase our proportion of things that are known, but ultimately we say we don't know. Even if you go to the best scientist, they cannot just tell you exactly what it is. Yeah, I think we know a lot about it. This is protons, electrons, this, that, or the other. But this final thing we don't know yet. This is the history of humankind. And it cannot be known. Because something which is Maya Shakti is anirvachaniyam, cannot be precisely defined. There also we say that it cannot be precisely defined with respect to something that can be very precisely defined, which is the Atma. So the same logic there applies also, that asatyam can only be seen once you see the Atma. Then you can say really everything else is nothing but mithya. Anyway, so these are the two concepts that we must remember as we go forward. So going back to the asatyam versus satyam. So look at this. So this is an important thing. Any kind of form, any kind of action must resolve into formlessness and actionlessness. So asatyam can only be respect to satyam. So here an example given is that when you say, let's say, I'm traveling at 65 miles per hour in my car. This is a statement, and it's a true statement. You're driving 65, 70, whatever. This is with respect to a ground which is not moving. Isn't it? Because if you're not driving, you're just sitting there, your speed is 0. With respect to that 0 speed, you're driving at 65 miles per hour. And we transact using the 65. There are laws that say don't exceed the speed limit. You get a ticket if you exceed the speed limit. All transactions, all vyavahara is with respect to 65 miles per hour. Now consider this. This is the example from Swami Meshanji. The earth is moving at 50,000 miles per hour. 50,000 miles. So really speaking, everyone is exceeding the speed limit. It's not just you and I. We are all, without sitting on the ground, we are driving at 50,000 miles. And that is the Earth's rotation around the sun. Then the whole galaxy is moving very fast. And that's probably, we are moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And but then you cannot really, you cannot define it. The whole world will not function. So what? There will be no laws. Everybody is just moving. Doesn't make any sense. And so therefore, all it says is that asatyam must have a measure of satyam in order to be called asatyam, vaithatyam. So vaithatyam or asatyam, same thing, falsity, has to be defined in terms of what is satyam. You know, another thing, for example, you can say that a person is unusually depressed. I was just listening to the radio the other day, where now depression is a major medical investment. There are so many people who cannot function because they are highly depressed. Now there is in fact this is a big thing, because now drugs are coming out that do actually help, but they are very expensive. So the same thing, can they be covered by insurance or not? Anyway, what I was listening to was that something like, I don't know, 40 million people in the US, or some 25, or I forget the number, some millions, it was definitely in millions, are extremely depressed every day, to the point that they cannot function. You ask them to get dressed, they say, I don't want to get dressed. We actually know some people, some of our friends, their children are highly depressed. So now the question is, what is the definition of depression? The definition of depression is that someone who cannot normally function, to have likes and dislikes, to have saying that, life is very difficult, this is normal. Is normal. But to be able to be highly depressed is something which is being defined called depression. Or depressed. Now, the depression is with respect to what? Depression is with respect to normal living. You see, this is asatyam. Asatyam means that this person doesn't need to be depressed. We have, I won't name it, but there is a daughter of a friend of ours, and Her father died about 15 to 16 years ago, and she has become depressed. And she's a graduate from a major college, and she used to work for a publishing house, and was a very effective person. But now she has stopped working, and she doesn't do anything at all, and she just lives with her mother, makes her life very miserable. And we know her very well, and we've tried everything to help her out, but she doesn't get any better. So the definition of a depressed person is with respect to normal person. Normal person has problems. We all do. But to such an extent where you cannot function normally is called a depressed person. So this is Swami Maheshananji's example, that listen, you cannot define asatyam without satyam. You know what it means? As we will see, this is an important thing to keep in mind. You cannot dismiss the world to be asatyam until you have a glimpse of the satyam yourself. You cannot keep on saying this world is mithya, this world is mithya, because a satyam cannot be defined by itself. And so we will get into this. There's a lot of things. We are going to now analyze this. So this is the background. This is the background. And I think that the second concept, the two concepts, one is asatyam cannot be defined without satyam. The second concept is that yukti, logic, cannot be defined without shruti. Because otherwise it becomes a guesswork and you cannot really define it. Depends on which book you read, which everybody has their own logic. And you cannot rely on anything. And so the proof of saying, if you just follow this, please, we will get you completely okay. And so that shruti must precede. So these concepts are important. So the Shastra and also Anubhuti. Anubhuti means that your own experience, at least the semblance of the experience, must be understood. So here Shruti says, and all the Mahatmas say, yes, you can be completely away from all dukkha in life. We are telling you, this is my experience. That very famous shloka, aham vrikshasya reriva kirtif prishtam gireriva. And all of the Upanishads end with phalam, which says, yes, this works. It is not theoretical. While living, you can be completely free of it. And by the way, the Anubhuti comes in deep sleep. Anubhuti comes in. So our acharyas used to point out very clearly that if the samsara was real, you could not even get rid of it for a second. But we do. All of our dukkhas are left behind and we are sleeping independently. But we don't know that we are independent. So the Karana Sharira is still there. And so that gives rise to the same Karya Sharira which says, I am limited, I am limited, I am limited. So I'm a dukkhi, I'm a dukkhi. But what it says is that look at it. It is possible to be independent of it. So this is Anubhuti. And the Shruti says absolutely. Then you examine all of the yuktis from that point on. Okay. So now, in the third verse. Let's go back to the verses. So the first two verses, if you recall, was simply stating the obvious, that the reason that the dream state is asatyam is because you don't have a place inside your body to accommodate all the things. You don't have it. And you also don't have the time. You don't have the time to do so. So therefore, this is the building of the logic, that it is not satyam. Okay, now number one. Number three, which is verse number 3, there is a quotation from Mandukyaupanishad. And that one says, Nyaya rathadinam shruyate. So there is a great description in Mandukyaupanishad that, listen, there is a chariot, and there are horses, and there's so much action, and so on and so forth. None of that is really true. You cannot say that is true. Okay? Now a question occurs. Which is, why can't I figure out that the world is asatyam? By logic, why do I need to listen to the Shruti? Because in verse number 3, Shruti is related. See, in the first two verses it was purely yukti. In the third one, Shruti means Mandukyaupanishad is saying it. Why? So here, Adi Shankara, I won't go into all the details, because Swami Maheswaranji, I find, he is very close to understanding and relating to what Adi Shankara's Bhashya is saying. So that way, I think I'm very happy that we don't have to study the Bhashya itself, as we did in Mandukyaupanishad and a few other Upanishads, Ishavasayam also. And it just takes too long. So his summarizing of the concepts is much more useful to me. But he's tethered completely to Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara says the reason that the Shruti is being quoted here is not because the asatyam of the dream can be figured out by itself, but something that cannot be figured out, which is called Swayam Jyoti. This is a very important thing for us to really think about. Swayam Jyoti. So, I'm not sure whether this particular passage where Rathadi Nam, I should really do the research ahead of time. I just don't have the time to go through all of that. Whether this recitation of the Rathadi Nam is close to the Swayam Jyoti section in Mandukyaupanishad. Maybe it is. But the purpose of Mandukyaupanishad is to point out the Swayam Jyotitvam of the Atma. So what do we mean by Swayam Jyotitvam? What the Shruti is saying, that in addition to the smallness of time, the smallness of space, the limitation of the time, which is obvious, you can tell. When you wake up, you say, wow, I saw all this without really, without being there. There is another thing that we must understand, which is really interesting. Where did the light come from? When I saw the sun, blinding sun, and I saw pictures, where did the light come from? it must be in the Atma. There is no other source. Swami Maheshanji gives this beautiful example. He says, suppose you are sitting in a room early in the morning. That happens to me almost every day, because I actually usually start studying by turning the light on. I make a cup of tea and then I turn the light on and then I do some study. These days I'm studying the some book or the other, but these days I'm doing the Brahma Sutra. I'm just taking Brahma Sutras and taking one passage at a time. So I turn the light on. Then the sun rises. When the sun rises, there comes a time where you're not sure whether I am being illuminated by the sun or by the local light. Short amount of time. Then after a while, the sunlight overwhelms the the lamp light. And now I turn the lamp light off. But during some time, it is not clear which light is really lighting my book. If you had a doubt like this, the best thing is to draw the blinds. You have no two sources of light. You only have one source of light. Then you can tell this is what's lighting me up. Okay? So therefore, if you are in a completely dark room, then either you turn the light on or you, as the sun rises, you raise the blinds and let the sunlight come in. So there you are very sure about which is the source of the light. In the dream, you have your blinds drawn. Because you see, during my waking hours, we are going to transition into the waking hours very soon. During my waking hours, I am not sure what the source of light is. In fact, as I was relating to you, it's either can be the local light or it can be the heavenly light. It can have be a mixture of the two. Right now also you are having a window and there's a light coming in from outside. We also are mixing it up with the local light. And the light of the Atma is nowhere in the picture. So if we tell you that really speaking, you have the light of the Atma, you'll say, what? What Atma's light? I don't understand that. I can understand the street light, the local light, and the sun. What are you talking about? So it is not resolvable. But in the dream, there is no real sunlight. There is no street light. And yet your picture is very clear. Very clear. In fact, you can dream that I'm having a headache because I forgot my dark glasses. I'm sitting in the sun and this is too much. Yeah, you can do that. Where did it come from? So Atma is Swayam Jyoti. Swayam Jyoti means that it does not have its Jyoti, its light is not imported. In fact, it imparts its Jyoti to the mind. And the very funny part is that there is the eyes are closed. You're not using your eyes to see the light. Here, right, for example, you can close your eyes and the light is gone. But in the dream, your eyes are already closed. Your hearing is not there. All sense organs are completely asleep. but you see something. So, therefore, the meaning of the citing of the Shruti in the third verse is to introduce a third element in pointing out the asatyam of the dream. And what is the third element? The first element was not enough space. Second element is not enough time. The third element is Swayam Jyotishtam. And he says that one cannot figure out until it is pointed out by the Shruti. We never even think about it. We just accept it. Oh, I had a dream, and that's it. Then go on to the next point. Hey, the dream is a very important point of my analysis. This is where lies my freedom. And so this is pointed out, and that is given in the word prakashitam. Here, so I saw Swami Paramarthananda's translation of prakashitam. Yeah, he says it is revealed by the Upanishad also. But that meaning is slightly different. So, he has not gone into the details of this as Swami Maheshananji has given. So, prakashitam means, it is correct that the asatyam of the dream is also revealed by the Shruti. It is correct. But here the word prakashitam, as unfolded by Adi Shankara and explained by Swami Maheshananji, refers to Swayam Jyotishtam. Anyway, so that's the point that I would just want to mention, number 3. Now we are moving from number 3 to number 4, which is where the real battle begins. So far it was just an example. We are just consolidating the dream. But dream is not where we also know that the dream is asatyam. I don't know that the Jagrat Avastha is also asatyam. That is what I have to figure out. So let's start with this analysis. It's just a start. So let's go to number 4. Antasthanat tu bhedanam tasmat jagrite smritam yatha tatra tatha atra, you can say atra, swapne samritena vidyate. So, if we look at the English translation of that by Swami Paramarthananda, as it is in the case of dream, so it is in the case of the other. Other meaning Jagrat Avastha. Therefore, the unreality of the objects in the waking state is accepted. Yes, the dream does differ because of its location within the body and because of the limitation of space. This is a big but, because I cannot see, there seems to be enough space for the whole world to apply, so I don't see that how it is got to be there, how it is asatyam. I don't see that. So now begins the analysis. So in this analysis, the beginning point is that whatever is seen is asatya. This is the logic. Whatever is seen is asatyam. So now people say just the opposite. People say that because I see it, how can I take it to be asatyam? In fact, it's just the opposite. Because I see it, therefore it must be Satyam. So now we have two opposite viewpoints. Just look at this, so beautiful. If I see something, then it must be Asatyam. And my normal thinking is, if I see something, then it must be Satyam. How are we going to resolve this? So here, several things are pointed out. So this is, I mentioned this last week also. There is a logic used in Vedanta which says pramanantaras visamvada samvada. Means that if there are two pramanas means two conclusions based on not, this is vyavaharika sat, not pratibhatika sat. It's not like saying that, if you go to India many times in the villages, they'll say, there is a tree here on which a ghost resides. Don't go near it at night time. It's often understood. So you ask people that, really? Have you seen the ghost? He says, no, I have not seen the ghost, but others have seen it. Which others? Oh, I don't know. This is a popular belief. They have seen it. Don't believe that. So there is a certain thinking that I don't know the reality, but I just accept it. This is the situation. Now, in the case of looking at the Jagrat Avastha, I just feel this is real. Don't, and I say, no, you see, but the thing is that whatever you see is asatyam. That logic is not clear to me. That logic is not clear to me because I only glom on to the fact that it is satyam. So the pramanantar samvidada means that some supporting logic has to be provided, and we will. Just as a hint of that, you can say that whatever is seen is dismissible. So now the question is, if whatever is seen is dismissible, but that doesn't make me happy. Doesn't make me happy. It doesn't give me any freedom. Yes, you're right. I can just shut my eyes and not see the thing. Or in the case of sleep, sleep is a very, so it's interesting. The sleep is not just the absence of activity. It actually disassociates you from any effect of it. You see that? So, for example, supposing you close your eyes. Supposing there is some, big dance going on and so on, and you say this is just too much. So all you have to do is to close your eyes, or you can just shut your ears. But as you shut your ears, you are still thinking that it is there. In the deep sleep, however, no matter what the problem is, you are completely dissociated with it. So the sleep is a very powerful thing. It is not an ordinary thing. And the Maya Shakti is the same way. Anyway, going back to our original thinking, whatever is seen is dismissible. So then the question is, just because it is dismissible, that doesn't give me any freedom. The answer is not yet. It will. This is the way to go. Not yet. So this not yet is the example shown where you see clearly if fire in the mountain, you're driving and you see these red fire, leaps of fire clearly. So this is what is called Vanniman. Means that the fire is, the mountain has caught fire. The other one is, you're going around, you don't see the fire, but you see smoke, black smoke. Therefore, you conclude, this is not a steam from some factory. This is a black smoke coming out of nowhere. There is no factory around there. There's no people there. It must be fire. You don't see the fire. But through anumanam, through your conclusion, you say there must be fire. We can apply the same logic. This is just a start. There'll be lots of other ones too. This is what the Karika is going to tell us. That how can we slowly understand that the Jagrata Avastha is also false? By beginning to understand it through logic. And the logic here is, whatever is seen is asatyam. Even though it doesn't appear in the beginning to be asatyam. So it is kind of like you see the smoke, but you don't see the real fire. The real fire will come when you begin to understand that there is an independent Atma which is Swayam Jyoti, which is Nityaha, which is independent of time. As you begin to dwell on that, you will see that the world starts to become more asatyam. That conviction will grow. It is not there now. Why is it not there now? For the same logic that we used before, that you cannot conclude it to be asatyam until you see satyam. And this will be this is the way we are going to go. So here it's interesting. I remember Swami Chinmayanandaji's word. I remember this so well. There was a satsang going on with Swami Chinmayananda where he said that you don't see the sun initially. When the dawn occurs, you see the effect of the sunlight without seeing the sun. You see the light, but you don't see the sun. But when you see the light, what do you conclude? The sun is coming. I remember him saying so well. He was so fond of saying that. So here's what it means. And I'll give you my own life's experiences and so on. The asatyam of the world does not occur right away. But guess what? If you persist on it, it starts to show asatyata. It starts to show that my conclusion that the whole world is, I am in the grips of the whole world, starts to loosen. And when I said my own experience, I'm just telling you that I can see the progression where the world doesn't bother me as much. Let it be. What I have got to do with it? It's Ishvara's world. And if somebody does something, somebody says something and so on, let it be. Why? Because, you see, before I didn't really have an idea of who I was. And so therefore my beingness was totally dependent on the world. See this? This is exactly what happens. And it's not as though it has happened quickly or suddenly. It's just slowly percolating. So it is kind of like the sunlight. Even though I am not Jivan Mukta yet, but it will happen. It will happen. Whether it happens in this life or next life, I have no idea. So this happens. So this is exactly what is being said. That, and in fact, Maheshanji is very, very articulate in saying this. If I just read the Hindi for you, you'll be impressed by. What he's saying is that for seeing the asatyata of Jagrat Avastha, for seeing that, what people conclude is no. The Swapnavastha is definitely asatyam, but the waking state is real because I see it. It affects me. I cannot run into a wall or anything like this. And so you do not even proceed to investigate any further. You give up too soon. Swamiji says, please don't do that. Follow the logic of the Shruti and keep your doubts and slowly resolve them. It is exactly like if you see a black smoke, follow the logic and understand that there is some fire even though it is not visible to you yet. And so therefore, start the process by hanging on to the fundamental logic that whatever is seen is asatya. So that's the fundamental logic. But then you say, but. I remember having a conversation with Swami Dayanandji. In fact, I was alone with him in a car somewhere. He was maybe staying with me. He was staying with me in my house. He did Drishya Viveka. No, I'm sorry, Dakshinamurti Stotram in my house when we first built this new house. So we spent a lot of time. So I remember asking him this question. I said, Swamiji, what you say has been very true. And I completely understand this. But I don't feel free yet. What is it that I need to do? Please advise me. And I remember his answer very quickly and very clearly. He says, just remove your doubts. Just remove. It wasn't that I accepted it. Whatever he said, I accepted. But it wasn't obvious to me. But I can now, through the study, see the beauty of his words. That it says, yes, you have doubts whether your waking state is unreal. Remove your doubts slowly. But hold on to the basic logic. That logic will carry you a long ways. And I can tell you in my life also, it really is working. I am more just happy with myself, less reliant on outside things. And it is working. And as my understanding and my focus on myself increases, because everybody has limitations. I am not a Mahatma where I can suddenly just see this and that's not happening yet, but it is going to happen. So this is the direction that the Shruti is saying. That listen, go to the, first consolidate your logic on the Swapnavastha. See how the Swapnavastha is, how the dream is unreal. See the logic of it. Then transfer that logic to the, even though you have doubts, we know we have doubts, but do not dismiss the basic logic, because that logic will slowly come through for you. So this is how this teaching will evolve. And so here he says that, yeah, there are some differences. We agree with that. We agree there are some differences, because the Swapnavastha means that you cannot, it's obvious that it cannot be real. The other one is not obvious, but it is still there. This is the thinking of it. Let me see if there's something that I should be mentioning before I finish this. No, I think I pretty much covered. So just in summary, when there are two opposite viewpoints, then how are we going to resolve it? You have to resolve it by seeing which one is, so the more you approach, the more you look into. So, that's another way of just looking at it. So there are two opposite things called Brahma and Prama. Brahma means a wrong opinion about something. Prama means the right opinion about something, right conclusion about something. It's called Brahma and Prama. So, the example of the rope and the snake is a good one. So a vision of snake where in fact it is a rope. This can be just the opposite. Maybe there is a real snake and you think it's a rope. Now you're in real trouble. Real trouble. Swami Chinmayananda, just thinking of it, one more example he used to say. He said that supposing you are unfortunately, you got into the river somehow or the other, and your boat capsized, and you are now drowning, and it's dark, and you are struggling for your life, absolutely. And suddenly, in the dim light of the night, you have something, you see a black log. I remember he gave this example, and you say, "Wow, this is so wonderful." So you went and clasped the black log. The black log was a black crocodile. And now you want to get rid of it. And the crocodile says, "Not so, that's it. I'm very sorry you came to me, and now I'm not getting rid of it." So this is the situation that we have. There is a Brahma and a Prama. And so the rope is the Prama, and the snakiness is the Brahma. So there are two viewpoints. One person says this is a rope, the other one says this is a snake. Which one should we look into? Means the one that stands scrutiny. The other one does not stand scrutiny. Because the first one will say, "I put it yesterday. I bought this from a shop. and it has been lying there for several days. This is the logic. And the closer you see, that's the thing. The best thing, this is the logic of Bhagavad Gita, where supposing you say this is a snake and this is a rope, you can never resolve it, because the person who says it's a snake, he says, I don't want to go near it. I'm so afraid of it. But I have concluded it's a snake. And the other one says, no, it's not, it's a rope. So he says, you keep your opinion. Okay, I'm not going back into that room. And so you can never resolve it. Then, without going near it, the person that knows the rope says, I bought it yesterday. I'm telling you, I put it there. Then you can start to say, okay, really? Now I can maybe go and look at it. But the best thing is to actually take his hand and say, listen, this is not a snake, fool. So similarly, the logic of the Bhagavad Gita is, Krishna tells Arjuna that you have a Brahma about this life. And you cannot escape it by going to Rishikesh. You better fight right now and say that this is the right thing for you to do, then you will get freedom. And so it's like touching the rope. Don't go someplace else to do so. Anyway, going back to the summary of Brahma and Prama. The Brahma means one which is supported by a supporting logic and needs more scrutiny, that is Brahma. And one which cannot be supported is Brahma. So in the case of whatever I see must be Satyam versus whatever I see which is Asatyam, these are two different points. One is Brahma, one is Prama. How do we resolve it? We resolve it by investigating, by focusing, by taking the aid of the wisdom. Otherwise, fine, you don't have to accept it. This is exactly what everybody does. You take it as real, and then life passes by. At the end of the life also, you feel this world is very real. You weep that all my friends and relatives are gone, and time for me to go also. And you start all over again. It is better to start investigating. And then you will find, you may not finish the investigation in this life, sooner or later you will develop a pure understanding, and then a smile will come to your face. Oh my goodness. So this is the direction of the teaching that we are going to see as we go forward. Om Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanya Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhaved Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Yeah, Kalpana?
So, basic thing is I cannot dismiss the world until I see glimpse of Satyam, right? Now, it's probably, it is actually a gradual process. As I remove my doubts, I will slowly
Yes,
start.
yes.
But could there be like clips of Satyam?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And
Yes,
if that's
yes.
the case, how would it feel? Like, can you give an example of it?
So when I see myself as a just consciousness, just as I see myself as a conscious entity, completely satisfied, not wanting anything, and having a direct sakshat, this is me, and where nothing really interrupts that. No, there is, and if there is something that interrupts, if I open my eyes and so on, then it does not negate me. It may add something to it. It's like Purnamadav Purnamidam. So the Purnata, this is the Purnam. That took quite a while to see. That I'm complete. I'm complete. Nothing really is bothering me. Nothing is incomplete. And if I open my eyes, then it adds something to infinity, but it doesn't remove it. In the sense that it's not as though, so for example, by looking at an ornament, it does not negate the substance that it is made out of. You can be focused on the ornament, but at the same time you are still aware of the goldness of the ornament or whatever. Similarly, my experience is that time that if I'm opening my eyes or some thoughts are coming or something like this, then the sense of completeness doesn't go. But when you start getting vyavahara, then the sense of completeness recedes in the background. This is what we have to develop slowly. Excuse me. So it's a gradual process. So yes, you get glimpses of it. And I think that, as I was mentioning earlier, that I think a key thing comes in where you begin to see that I am just by myself a source of my own joy. I don't mind, so it's not as though I don't enjoy food or, outside things and so on. So those are reflected joys. But at least you make a transition. Because right now, everyone's feeling in the beginning is that I am not the source of joy. It's all coming from somewhere, so I have to do something. But when you discover, my goodness, wow, that in fact I am the very source of joy, that gives you a lot of freedom and comfort and so on. So that could be called a glimpse, if you may. Yeah.
Regarding the example we were talking about, the light in the dream.
Yeah.
When you have the dream, you can see that now it's light, it's daylight.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see it's darkness, so you're seeing the darkness and you're seeing the light.
Yes.
So isn't it that the light or the darkness is the impression in the mind? The light that we're seeing it in is actually the cognition, that's what we're talking about, not actually the physical light you can see in the dream.
So what you're saying is that that it is the impression in the mind of the Jagrat Avastha that is giving you the light. That's what you're saying,
but
isn't
your
it?
cognition is the light of Atma that we're talking about.
Well, you say that last...
What happens, so that light, the actual light, the impression in the mind of light and darkness is the mind.
Correct.
So that can't be the light of Atma. Light of Atma must be the fact that you can recognize it.
Right. So it isn't like that because, see, this is an important thing to see. Swapnavastha appears to us as the Jagrat Avastha. This is a very important thing that will be argued later on. Already I can see the argument. Here's the logic to answer your question. So really speaking, when you have a dream, you don't think it's a dream. In fact, your behavior is exactly what it is as just now. There are some differences. The differences are that in the Jagrata Avastha, the conditions are created by more than just you. Whereas in the Swapnavastha, all the conditions are created by you because of the vasanas. Leaving aside that, it's not a crucial difference, it turns out, by the Manishis, all the thinking people. But the fact of the matter is that when you are dreaming, there it affects you as though it is a Jagrata Avastha. So this is what it is said is that things are given to you as though you are interacting with it in reality, even though it is unreal. So from that perspective also, the light is not coming from, because one can say if it is just the mental light, the mind is there to differentiate between light and darkness. Yes, you're right about that, because you're thinking and so on and so forth. But unless the Jyoti is initially there, even in dream, your mind cannot reflect it. But all your mind is doing is modulating it. It's not generating it. Generation has to come from Atma. This is what the wise people say. This is the definition of it, that it is not, it's not generating by the mind. Mind doesn't have the ability to generate it. Mind does have the ability to have Brahma, where you feel that this is not right, this is not wrong, all those kinds of things. But the basic material must become from yourself, which is the Atma.
So generation of light and generation of the darkness would be the same thing?
Both be the same, yeah. And same thing here. So here what is good, what is bad is all generated by my mind. I'm not looking at the fact that everything is good. I'm segmenting it, some of it is now I'm labeling it as bad, some of it is limiting. Nothing is limiting. It's all, it's so there the example I think is a good one is the act in a drama. So in a drama, even though you are going through the motions and so on, it is not real because you, the actor, is totally unaffected by all this drama. So that's the situation that we have, is that this is a big play going on, but I see the fact that I'm separate from that play. And so I'm just I'm also a participant in the whole thing. So something like that. But I think it was very telling when I read this that really when the dream appears to you, it appears to you as a reality. It completely bamboozles you. It's not like saying, oh, it's a very interesting dream, I don't want to have this. No. Yeah. Absolutely not. So similarly here also, just, now that relative to the Jagrata Avastha, you can say, oh, that was just a dream, but this is the reality. But this also is not there. This also is going to go. once you understand the independence of the Atma, you will begin to see that this is just a play. Yeah. Yeah.
So when we're talking about these glimpses,
Mhm.
the challenge is to recognize our Purnatvam in the midst of all the Vyavahara.
But first you have to see the Purnattam without the Vyavahara. This is where meditation is important.
Right. But then it should not go away
No,
once
no,
you stop
no, it
meditating,
doesn't.
right? You have to
No.
recognize it
Yeah.
at all times,
Yeah.
right? In the midst of everything.
So
that's
that's something like this happens where the loss of Purnatvam, uh, the stages is that you do not experience Purnatvam at all, even though you do in deep sleep. And other areas you do, but initially you don't recognize it, you know. Then through teaching and through the words of the Guru and so on, you begin to see, oh my goodness, this is what it is. So then you easily dismiss it with this Vyavahara. And then with the Vyavahara, you don't dismiss it. So this is what is called Sahaja Samadhi.
That's
Yatra
the
yatra
challenge.
manogati. That's the challenge. And it will come. It will come. We just need to be patient about it.
Did you, I'm not sure I heard you correctly, did you say that when you glimpse that Purnatvam, but then when it's not completely realized by you, then when Vyavahara comes, you kind of lose it during, in the Vyavahara
So now,
for a
so
period
for
of time
example,
till
you know, even now,
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, it's not as though my Purnatvam is overwhelming,
Mhm.
you know, but do I have any doubts about it? And so it's okay. This is the beauty of it, you know. It's for the time being. I'm just being patient and slowly evolving in my life where, well, you know, it becomes a everlasting reality. I don't, just because I don't have this overwhelming Purnatvam now, doesn't mean that I have any doubts. All I can say is that I'm actually waiting to meditate. So whenever I meditate, I can recreate that Purnatvam. And so this is why other than teaching and so on, there's nothing that I'd rather do. There's nothing else left for me to do, except because I find a source of joy which is mine, and I can tap it. What anyone can get by doing this or that, or accomplishing this, or becoming a big person, and all those kinds of things, you know, the person can just do it just by itself. So yeah, so when you say lose it, yes, you don't have that overall sense, because the mind is still now, because of abhyasa, but in the back of that, once the Tattvamasi is clear, you never really dismiss it per se. It's not like saying, oh my gosh, I'm a dukhi, I'm a limited person. That doesn't happen. Yeah.
So, things which you bothered you a lot years ago don't bother you anymore. Is that the glimpse?
Yeah, that's part of it. Definitely part of it, because it gives you confidence that I'm going in the right direction. This is what the Shastra says, that as Swami Chinmayananda's example gave, that you don't see the sun clearly, but you see the light of the wisdom. So this is the wisdom that's going in the right direction. So then your conduct and your transactions are done in a way, you know, it is an amazing thing. I could never imagine that in my life I will even achieve what I have done already. There's a lot more to go. I will never imagine, because I was anxious, just like, you know, and so on and so forth. But it's just amazing. that, let people do what they want to. Why does it bother me? Even if it is something personally to me which nobody does, and so on and so forth. But if somebody does, I just laugh it off. So this is the way. And then you just you sympathize with somebody's rude to you. You see, this is what happens when, let's say, there is a rude behavior. In the beginning, you start to doubt yourself that maybe I'm not good enough, and so on and so forth. Now your feeling is whatever, let the person be rude, and you start to actually sympathize with the other person. That I hope your life becomes easier, so you don't have to be that rude. But you just bounce it back. You don't absorb any of that shock of something like that occurs. But overall, it's just marvelous, I tell you, what an experience, just slowly. And then it just accelerates because your good habits and your devotion and so on and so forth. And all of this, Ishvara is very important. All very, very important. So, yeah. All right. We'll see you next week. Oh, so no, I think that this class is not affected next week because we will finish it at 9:45. But the Gita class, we will do it only for 45 minutes, from 9:45 to 10:30. I'll explain, I'll send an email, because at 10:30 we are going to have a Aim for Seva meeting in this room itself, as I explained. So that's the plan. But this class will continue as it is. Okay.
Would like the stream be your Purnatva and Vyavaha be the moon?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
yeah,
that.
Absolutely.
So the screen is always there.
Yeah, it's always there. Yeah,
Always,
absolutely.
and then whatever happens and moves on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing up the beginning of the last teaching, sorrow, and the end of the sorrow. I just got the glimpse of statues.